So let's begin with the Autumn Breeze extract. It's on page 74 of the Art of Extract Making. We did our best to time all of these, so they're kind of consistent with the season. And this one is like, it's got holiday, fall flavors written all over it.
It does. That's why it's called the Autumn Breeze.
It's hence the name. So let's dive in because this one is so much fun.
Okay, this is really fun because we have a combination of dried fruits from the season, as well, of course, of vanilla beans. And then we add in some of these fall spices in with these different fruits, and it just adds this perfect little extract that you can be using all through the fall and the winter when you're just loving all of those spices and fruits.
Yes, when you think of anything that, is a favorite during holiday baking season, from pie crust to pumpkin spice things to your fruit bread, banana breads, things like that. This works for all of it.
It's wonderful in glazes over scones and, just dip cinnamon rolls, just to add a little bit of a different taste to just the plain traditional cinnamon roll. It's delicious.
And not to like go on a huge diversion, but sometimes like where you really taste the extracts come through, like the flavor, it's in glazes, it's in frostings, it's in creams, things like that, where the extract taste really shines, and you can be a little bit more liberal in the application of the extracts, right? You can add a little bit more sometimes to get a little more flavor.
And don't forget to add it to your tea too, because this is a wonderful addition to add just a little bit.
A little drop to your hot holiday tea.
Yes.
Right. There we go.
So this thing we're going to do here, this is our Ecuadorian beans. This is tahitensis, and it has a nice light fruity undertone with a little bit of like an apricot or maybe even a plum taste to it. And so it's going to go perfect with these spices and these fruits. Again, like we always say, when you're cutting or slicing your vanilla beans, you get to choose. You can tie them in a knot so you can save all that caviar or the seeds inside to use later for recipes. Or you can cut them so you can get, you can cut them so you can get all of those seeds in your extract. So I'm going to tie maybe 3 or 4 of them. So I'll have those for later. And then I'm going to cut the rest just so I can get plenty of seeds in my extract.
Well, and sometimes too, with these multi-ingredient extracts, you fill the container so quickly and you're trying, the goal at the end is going to be to have everything be submerged. And when you're packing everything in, and we'll do this when we get to the orange cranberry one as well, but when you're packing them in, sometimes like cutting the beans is just a must, just to be able to squeeze them all down there so they all fit.
Yes, and it's just once you get all these ingredients in there, it gets a little bit more difficult. So it is easier to cut most of them just so everything can be submerged.
Yep. And we're using our French square, the 16-ounce bottle.
16 ounce, yeah.
And we like these for the big open neck.
And they fit nicely into my cupboards. They're not too big, and so they don't take up too much space, which when you have a ton of extracts, that gets to be an issue.
Oh my heavens. And there are a great many of you that know exactly what we're talking about.
I've seen the pictures.
We've seen the pictures, and just when we think we had a lot, like someone posted a picture last week, and there were hundreds in the one picture.
Yeah.
And we probably got, I don't know.
Hundreds.
Yeah, we have hundreds.
Yeah.
So I know.
It's nice to know we're not alone.
We're not alone. We're in good company.
Okay, so our next ingredient is just ginger. Now, this adds kind of like that fresh, wow. I mean, without the ginger, it's just not the same. So don't leave this out. It adds just that fresh, tart ginger flavor. It's about 1 inch long. In the recipe, it says 1 small ginger root. So it's about 1 inch.
So
it smells so wonderful.
Just as you're cutting it open, I know. And so one of the principles that we talk about in our book, and really what we're trying to do with extract making, is to give you a starting point to sort of find your way to the extracts that you like. We hope no 2 extracts are ever exactly the same. And so if you happen to be someone that loves the taste of ginger, you can use a little more. If you don't love the taste of ginger, you can go a little light. If you think the ginger's coming through too strong early on, you can remove the ginger and the other ingredients will take over. If you want more ginger after you've started, you can add more into it. That's the joy of extract making, right? Like you can tweak and adjust and kind of zero in on the flavor that you like the best and find it with all the ingredients that we're using. So when we say small or medium or large, that's part of the reason is that we're talking about personal preference and what you want to do with ginger or with the other ingredients, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And we're giving you kind of a starting point that we found recipes that are tried and true. And then we hope that you take those recipes and then make them your own.
Yeah.
So after the ginger, we are going to do whole nutmeg, and it says half a whole nutmeg. You know, once I crush this, it might be a little bit difficult to get exactly half. Extracting is not an exact science. We're not baking cakes here. These are extracts. So if you get a little more nutmeg or a little less, you're going to be just fine. You know, it's not going to matter. So I've got kind of half right there. So I'm just gonna, that was easy.
That was so easy.
Woo!
That was like easier than the hammer. Like usually it's the hammer under the dishcloth, but that with the mortar and pestle, that was very nice.
If you have a mortar and pestle, you can do that, or you can just use like a meat tenderizer in your dish towel, or I've used a spoon rest before and I couldn't find the rest because my kids like to they used to love to play with that meat tenderizer and I could never find it.
We could never find it. So we made them break it with their teeth. You lose mom's tools, we got to break the nutmeg. You kids got to figure it out. I'm teasing. We did not do that. They lost their teeth other ways. Anyway.
Okay, so we've got the nutmeg. The next thing we're adding is our dried fruit. So I've got, we're going to start with the apples. This comes differently. If you have your own dehydrator, then you can do it however you want to do it. I have a friend with a dehydrator, so sometimes I use hers. I used to have one, I don't anymore. So if I go to the store and I buy them, sometimes I find them in rings like this. And sometimes I find them in wedges with the skin and sometimes without. All of them are good. But for this recipe, this is about the size of one slice. So I'm going to put 4 of these in. And you know, every piece is a little bit different. So I kind of just guide it, you know, if I kind of get close to that. See if I can find another one. It's kind of close to that. And then one more. And I can cut them. See, this one actually does have the skin on. Some of them do, some of them don't. Which
we don't want to use, yeah.
No, it's fine.
Go, gotcha. I thought you were calling it out for the other reason.
And then that. So, I mean, really, it's not a ton of fruit that we're putting in here, just a little bit. And I'm going to cut it into just smaller pieces, only because I want it to just fit really nicely in there. And
so we like dehydrated because 1, it's capturing the fruit in there. 2, it's removed the majority of the moisture. When you think of like dehydrated versus freeze-dried stuff, it's a lot like a grade A and a grade B bean. You know, the drier you get is kind of like freeze-dried, whereas the dehydrated, it's still a little bit more pliable, but the moisture content is still really, really, really low, which means when we're using dried fruits, we can still use regular spirits. We don't have to get into the world of like high-proof rums or Everclear or anything like that. We're using ingredients that allow for a broad range of spirits, right?
Yes, we're using a 40% Bacardi Gold rum in this recipe, which is really, really easy to find. Most spirits start around 40%. And so if there is just a little bit of moisture in this, you've got a little bit extra room that you'll be just fine. And, you know, the versatility of being able to choose many different spirits goes up when you have the dried fruit.
Absolutely. So we like dried fruit for that reason, but we're going to talk about fresh fruit here in a minute as well. And for those of you that have been on all of these journeys with us, we've done several fresh fruits, and we'll get into that here in a minute.
Yep. Okay.
Time for oranges.
Moving on to the oranges. This also says 4 sliced oranges. So I'm just, again, a normal kind, it's not a big orange, it's just a medium orange. And I'm going to pick about 4 of these. If one is a little bit smaller, I'll go and maybe put 2 or 1.5 in there.
LaDawn uses the dehydrator setting on her air fryer. LaDawn, that's really interesting. It's funny, LaDawn, I read that and I thought you said you use the dehydrator that is sitting on your air fryer. And I thought that could be a little dangerous. The dehydrator setting on your air fryer. That's a really good idea.
Is kind of a cool thing because, you know, freeze dried can be expensive. And if you do have access to a dehydrator, it gives you that opportunity to take advantage of all that fresh fruit that's in season and affordable. And you can use it.
You can use it.
Yeah.
And then the other nice thing about dehydrated is it doesn't absorb the spirits as much as freeze dried does. And so typically you find that with freeze dry, you're topping off your extracts a lot more frequently than you are with just dehydrated.
Mhm.
But sometimes those flavors can come out. There's really pros and cons to each, and topping off's not a bad thing. It's just another step that you have to be cognizant of as you're using it.
Well, and oftentimes the dehydrated fruits, it pulls out, it's a little stronger sometimes.
Absolutely.
So it's nice. Again, we're teaching you just concepts here.
There's pros and cons to every single one of them.
Yep.
By the way, this jar, like almost,
It's gorgeous.
you could almost put all these ingredients in there and give it as a Christmas gift with a little like thing of alcohol type to it and let people like make this extract on their own with the instructions, just as like a holiday gift idea. Because people
Yeah.
are always like, it's not gonna be ready for a year and I can't give it away. Well,
It's gorgeous.
you can
And
do this.
with a cute little tag. Can you imagine a cute little Bacardi rum bottle that's attached to here, and you've got the tag and it tells them what to do? Really just, it's gorgeous.
Yes.
It is really.
There's so many
very
ways
pretty.
to use gifting and extract making, and this is one of them when you have all these dried ingredients and they look just amazing.
And you don't have to wait the whole year to have it ready for them. Then you're gonna find another friend in extracting because you're gonna start them on this journey.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
it's kind of fun to give them something that they can actually do themselves too.
Yep. And you can just grab the recipe out of the book and you can make like a little card of it if you want. So it's all the instructions so they know exactly what to do. And it's all there. Like, how fun
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah.
Sorry, tangent.
Okay, no, that's okay.
That's what I do.
We
I'm
have
tangent guy.
a cup of cranberries. Oh gosh, this is only getting more
It's beautiful.
colorful. I mean, check that out. How pretty is that?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay, and now we have the spices. We have 2 teaspoons of allspice berries and 1 teaspoon of whole cloves. So we're just going to top that off over the top.
There it is.
I like to kind of jiggle it a little bit so they can kind of go down in between all the ingredients. There we go.
There we go.
So pretty. Look at that. It is, you know, I think that would be so fun to give it like that.
I know. You see, every now and then I have a good idea.
No.
Once in a while,
You do a lot.
I have a good idea. It's like, hey, that would be fun. That was unrehearsed, by the way. That was total improv. I thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, so
What do we got now?
Bacardi rum.
Oh, is it time for me to geek out about alcohol?
It is.
Can I?
It
May I?
is, yes. So we have decided to go with the Bacardi Gold because it's a little bit different than white rum. Ta-da! Pick it up.
So no.
Part. You know he does.
No. Well, it's like the second. So obviously the first thing that's going to dictate the taste of your extracts is the ingredients. The second thing that's going to dictate the taste is the spirit that you choose.
Yes.
And there's a trillion different spirits. And so there's so many different options and it'll have a huge impact on what your final extract is going to taste like. So in this particular case, we chose the Bacardi Gold, right? We call that out in the book. You can kind of say that this is a dark rum. This one has been aged lightly. So the darkness in the alcohol comes from the cask that it's stored in. So the longer that they're aged, the darker they get because they're taking on a lot of the characteristics of the wooden cask that they're in. Casks are charred before they go inside. So when spirits are really smoky, it's because they sat in the smoked cask for longer periods of time. Also, over time, alcohol evaporates. They call it the angel's portion. So if you fill a cask full, after 1 year, X amount is going to evaporate. And after more and more and more years, you get more evaporation, which means what's left over is really, really concentrated. And the longer it sits, the more impact the cask is going to have on the flavor. And a smoky cask is going to add smokiness to the alcohol. So before we get there.
Oh, sorry.
So this one has been, it doesn't say exactly how long, but you can tell just by looking at it. It's only been stored in a cask for a short period of time. That means it's a rum. It's sugar-based. The sugar and the sweetness is going to be the predominant flavor, and the smokiness is going to be kind of put at bay because it's a lighter rum. So, oh, go ahead.
Well, and the smokiness isn't going to overtake this recipe. It's going to be something that's just there, and so in a year, it's going to be delicious. Now, I know a lot of people say if you go dark rums, you're going to have to wait at least 18 months to 2 years. That's why we taste test at the year mark, or even at 6 months, so you can decide what it is that you like. But this gold rum is a little bit lighter on that smoky flavor side.
Yeah, it just hasn't been aged as long as others have. And so what you get out of this is a lot of sweetness, a little bit of smokiness, but the two together are wonderful. And for all the ingredients that we're putting in here with the cranberries and the apples and the oranges and vanilla and the allspice, this one has been our favorite. Brandies would certainly be good with this, especially like an apple brandy to use with the apples that are inside. They would be very complementary. So there's a lot of ways that you can go that'll have a different impact on the final. Here's another rum, just so you can see the difference. This one has been aged longer. This is the Kirk and Sweeney. And so when you hold them up behind the setting 4:30 sun, which we're so sad that it gets so dark so early, but you can kind of see it in the background. A darker rum, it's going to be a little smokier. It's going to have more of the taste of the casks versus a lighter rum that, in our experience, extracts just as quickly as a vodka.
Yes, and so if you're going to go with a really dark rum, it may very well take 18 months to possibly 2 years, depending on your preference. But we found that Bacardi Gold is kind of a nice in-between spot of just plain white rum and then the dark.
We love it. So go deep on spirits. Go spend as much time researching spirits. We have a ton of information about spirits in our book for this reason, because there's just so much flavor that you can add when you select your spirit. There's a really important comment here, though, that I think we need to share with the whole group, that I think is maybe one of the most important comments that has ever been raised in all of the workshops that we have ever done.
Wow.
And it comes to us by Debbie Bennett, who says, "Paul, you're so funny."
Oh, God.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie's my favorite.
Wow, you are sweet.
Okay, back to the important stuff. All right, here we go. What do we got? We got, so you poured 8 ounces.
Yep, we've got 1 ounce of beans to 8 ounces of alcohol. Then we have all those ingredients in the middle, which are going to create the most unique, flavorful autumn
And there it is.
extract.
And look at that. It covers it perfectly. Oh my heavens.
Now it's going to float a little bit at the beginning until the fruit gets absorbed, and then it will go down. Sometimes when you check on it, you'll notice it's coming up. Just go in and push it down and check on it ever so often. But I mean, for the most part, it's going to be great.
Now hold that up sideways. Let's get it on the extract cam here, just so you can show it. When you're tilting it, all the stuff kind of comes out. But when the jar sits upright,
When we tilt it, you can see.
but everything's fully submerged when the jar sits upright.
Yeah.
And so, and it might absorb it just a little bit. And if we need to top it off, we can. Remember, we're using lots of ingredients here, not just the vanilla beans. I mean, we've got enough for, is this single fold extract, just vanilla. So there's enough vanilla in there just for a single fold extract. But then you're adding all of those other fruits as well. So my point is, if you need to top it off, everybody's always worried, well, if I top it off, am I diluting it? No, you're not in this case. It's okay to top it off a little bit. This is one of the reasons you want to find a jar that fits like snug, just to make sure everything can get pushed down, and the least amount of alcohol is used in the extraction. The least amount of alcohol that you use, the more concentration you're going to get. But it doesn't mean that you can't top off and still get the taste that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, topping off doesn't mean you're adding, 3-4 ounces. It's just a little bit.
Moon Babe, the aroma has to be incredible.
It is.
And it's so interesting, the chemistry, because as soon as you poured the alcohol in it, it was like this poof of flavor and aroma that comes out.
Together, didn't it?
Yeah, because you can smell it all through the kitchen. Now you couldn't when it was all dry, but as soon as we added the rum in there, it was like the aroma that came out was like instantaneous.
Yes.
Because the whole kitchen smells now.
The whole kitchen, you can smell the vanilla, of
Yeah.
course.
How fun is this extract, by the way? Is this like one of the most fun extracts?
It's so fun. I'm gonna add my labeling onto the jar so I know what it is. when I started it, I like to put the page number of the book because then I don't have to go searching it. It's just faster for me. And then on the bottom, I put the date that I started it. So, since I have so many different extracts, I have to have some way of organizing everything. And this is just something that I like to do. I also have a spreadsheet that I keep track of things as well in one big place. But when I'm just kind of going through my cupboards, I'll go through and say, oh, this one, and then I pull the ones that need attention to the front and the other ones to the back. So it's really nice to have notes on the jar just for that quick reference.
Yeah, if you have to pull up the spreadsheet every time, it's tricky.
Yeah.
And then the masking tape comes off, it doesn't leave any residue. So it's easy to change it out over and over again, right?
Tape. Now, if I'm gonna gift it, I'll take that off and put a cute label on it. But if it's just for me, I abhor stickers. So this masking tape is like my best friend.
I just want to smell this one more time. I'm telling you, the brandy would be, I think, good with this one.
The pear brandy
The
would
pear
be
brandy would
lovely
be
in
good,
it. Yeah.
but the Bacardi Gold for this one still is still holding up. And the reason I say that is, when we wrote the book, it's been 2 years now, I think, since we submitted the.
Yes, so we submitted it, not wrote it.
Yeah, well, we wrote it before that, but
Yeah.
since we submitted the draft and we kind of had to stop adding or editing, and we've learned so much even since then. And there are some things where we're like, boy, a brandy here has been really good. Or we've discovered new spirits and new applications as we've gone through all of this. That's the hardest part about a book, is you just have to stop. And you learn new things, and you're like, hey, and you're calling the publisher, can I add this one? And then, no, we're done. Okay, we'll wait. But anyway, the Bacardi Gold,
it's lovely,
still holds up.
Mm-hmm.
It's lovely, like right out of the chute. Like, this is such a fun extract. We hope a lot of you are making this one and enjoying it as much as we are, because this one's great. Well done, Jill. How about that? Give Jill a hand. Can't do that through here, but they're all doing it, I bet. Okay, so we're going to come back and check up on that one in a month, and then it goes for a full 12 months. So that's one we're going to be taste testing in a year.
Yes, in 1 month, we're going to change out all that fruit, and we're going to add some more fruit just to give it a little bit more of that fruity aspect of the extract. And then after another month, we'll pull out that fruit, and then we're going to let it go for that full 12 months so you can get the full vanilla flavor. Now, if you think it's wonderful and you want to try it before then, it will be. But it will only get better, and more vanilla flavor will come out the longer you wait. We
think it's worth waiting on this one to bring that vanilla forward. It just kind of binds everything together in a beautiful, like, smooth extract that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I mentioned this, I think, earlier, but just one more time. So on this one that we just made, we're going to come back, we're going to record another clip in like a month. No, we do a 1 month, then a 2 month. Then it goes on the shelf for 10 months, and then we're going to come back in a year. So it makes it really hard to find all the clips. So if on VanillaPura.com, we've got a new section. It's the video tutorials for our book. There's an index there. So if you click on it, you go to that index. We've got 27 of our 40 recipes that we have started. We're going to get all 40 of them. And we go through and we get all the clips from each segment of our lives, and we put them all on the same page, so you don't have to go digging for all of them. If you want to know how to make this extract in a year, you'll be able to see what we just did here. You'll see our change out in a month. You'll see our change out a month after that. And then you'll see our final taste test 10 months later. So it'll all be in the same place. So for all of you new people that are joining us for the first time tonight, that's why we're doing these every month. And that's why we're not going to be done. The last taste test is like 2026. So we got a long way to go. But that's the reason that we're doing it. We're trying to create a helpful tool for all of you that would like to have guidance as you're making extracts in your kitchen.
It's our book in action.
Our book in action.
Yeah.
That was such a more concise way to say. See, always use what's the saying? I can't think of it. It's a saying about not using a lot of words. I don't want to think of it.
That's true.